The waiting season was not wasted, chosen one. Before anything else, pause for a moment, take a breath, because what you're about to hear is not just another message about love, relationships, or timing. This message is for the heart that has waited longer than expected, the heart that stayed faithful even when loneliness tried to whisper lies, the heart that kept believing even when others told you to lower your expectations. Yes, this message is for you. And if you're listening right now, it's not by coincidence, because God has a way of bringing the right words at the exact moment the heart needs them. You may not have realized it yet, but heaven has been paying attention to every silent prayer you've whispered, every night you asked God why love seemed to happen easily for everyone else, every moment you smiled in public but felt the quiet ache in private, every time you wondered if maybe you were asking for too much. But here is something God wants you to understand today. Your waiting was never punishment. Your waiting was preparation. Most people think waiting means something is wrong. They assume delay means denial. But God often works in ways that are completely different from how humans expect things to unfold. What looks like delay to you often looks like protection to Him, because the truth is, chosen ones are rarely rushed into relationships. They are refined before they are united. Think about it. God never places two destinies together until both hearts are ready to carry what love truly requires. Not just attraction, not just excitement, but purpose. Because the love God prepares is not ordinary love. It is a partnership, a connection that strengthens both souls, a relationship that pushes both people closer to their purpose instead of pulling them away from it. And relationships like that cannot be rushed. They must be prepared. You see, many people rush into relationships because they are afraid of being alone. But chosen ones learn something different during their waiting season. They learn how to be whole by themselves. They learn how to grow, how to heal, how to become emotionally and spiritually strong. And sometimes that process takes time. More time than you expected, more time than you wanted, more time than your heart thought it could handle. But every season had a purpose. Even the painful ones, even the confusing ones, even the ones where you watched others fall in love while you stayed single, because God was not ignoring you. He was shaping you. Every disappointment refined your heart. Every failed connection sharpened your discernment. Every lonely moment deepened your relationship with Him. And slowly, quietly, something powerful was happening inside you. You were becoming the kind of person who could recognize real love when it finally arrived. You were becoming the kind of person who would never settle for something shallow again. You were becoming the kind of person who values peace more than attention. And that kind of transformation changes everything, because the love God prepares for you is not meant to be chaotic. It is meant to bring peace. It is meant to bring alignment. It is meant to bring stability. And when it arrives, something inside you will recognize it immediately, not because it will feel overwhelming or dramatic, but because it will feel right, calm, natural, as if two paths that were always meant to cross have finally met at the perfect moment. You see, heaven works with timing, not human timing, divine timing. And divine timing is rarely early, but it is never late. The reason the wait felt long is because God was doing something behind the scenes that you could not see. He was preparing someone else too, someone whose journey had its own lessons, someone whose heart also needed shaping, someone who had to grow into the person capable of loving you the way you deserve to be loved. Because true love is not just about finding the right person, it is about becoming the right person. And both journeys have to happen simultaneously. While you were praying, they were growing. While you were learning patience, they were learning responsibility. While you were strengthening your faith, they were overcoming their own struggles. And all the while, heaven was aligning the moment your paths would finally meet. You may have felt forgotten, but you were never forgotten. God never forgets promises spoken to the heart, even the ones whispered in silence, even the ones you stopped talking about because you didn't want to feel disappointed again. God remembers them all, and He remembers you. That's why something inside you has never fully given up on love. Even when logic told you to stop hoping, even when experiences tried to convince you to settle, even when loneliness made you question whether true love was real. Deep down, a quiet voice kept saying, wait, not because love would never come, but because the right love was still on its way. And chosen one, that waiting season is coming to an end. Something is shifting, not in a loud or dramatic way, but in a quiet, undeniable way. Doors that once felt closed are starting to open. Opportunities for connection are starting to appear. You may even feel it in your spirit already, a subtle sense that something new is approaching, a feeling that life is about to move forward again. That feeling is not random, it is awareness. Your heart recognizing that the season is changing. The long night of waiting is giving way to a new morning, and when the right person finally enters your life, you will understand why every previous connection failed. You will understand why certain people left, why certain relationships ended, why certain doors closed, because they were never meant to carry your future. They were lessons, not destinations. The person God has prepared for you will not bring confusion. They will bring clarity. They will not bring instability. They will bring peace. They will not make you question your worth. They will recognize it. And the love you share will not feel forced. It will feel natural, as if both of you were being guided toward each other all along, which in truth, you were. So if your heart has been tired from waiting, take comfort in this. Your story is not delayed. It is unfolding exactly as it should. And the love you have been praying for, the love you thought might never come, is closer than you realize, closer than you think, closer than it has ever been before. Because sometimes, just before the right person enters your life, God begins to prepare your heart in new ways. He begins to restore your hope, to remind you that love is still possible, to show you that your patience was not wasted, and that preparation has already begun. Something beautiful is being aligned, something meaningful is approaching, something that will make the waiting make sense. And when that moment arrives, you will realize something powerful. You were never waiting alone. God was walking with you the entire time, guiding every step, protecting your heart, preparing your future. And the love He is bringing into your life will not be temporary. It will be purposeful. The moment heaven aligns, two paths, chosen one. There is something powerful about the moment when God begins aligning two lives that were meant to meet. It rarely happens the way people imagine. Most movies portray love as sudden fireworks, a dramatic moment where everything instantly makes sense. But the love God prepares is usually quieter than that. It begins subtly, almost gently. At first, it might feel like an ordinary conversation, a normal introduction, a simple moment that doesn't appear extraordinary on the surface. But deep inside, something feels different, not overwhelming, not chaotic, just peaceful. That's one of the first signs of a connection guided by God. It brings calm instead of confusion, because when heaven orchestrates a meeting, it doesn't come with unnecessary drama. It comes with clarity, and clarity feels like peace. Many chosen ones spend years waiting for a relationship that feels safe, a relationship where they don't have to constantly question intentions, a relationship where they can simply be themselves. And when that kind of love appears, it feels unfamiliar at first, not because it's wrong, but because it's healthy. You see, many people get used to emotional turbulence. They mistake intensity for connection. They believe love must feel unpredictable to be real. But the love God prepares doesn't work that way. It stabilizes your life instead of destabilizing it. It brings emotional rest instead of emotional exhaustion. And when you encounter the person meant to walk beside you, something unexpected happens. Your heart relaxes. You stop feeling like you have to prove your worth. You stop feeling like you have to compete for attention. You stop feeling like you have to hide the real parts of yourself, because the right person recognizes your value naturally. They don't have to be convinced. They don't have to be persuaded. They simply see you, not the version you present to the world, but the real you, and they appreciate it. That is one of the clearest signs that God's timing has finally arrived. Mutual recognition, a sense that both hearts understand something sacred is happening. But here's another truth many people don't realize. When God brings two people together, He doesn't just align their emotions, He aligns their direction. Purpose matters. Because relationships without shared purpose often drift apart. But when two people are walking towards similar values, similar faith, and similar vision, their connection grows stronger over time. The love becomes deeper, more meaningful, more resilient. That's why the waiting season existed. That's why the waiting season existed. It was about preparing your life, your mindset, your priorities, your spiritual foundation. Because the person God is bringing into your life is not just meant to share moments with you. They are meant to build a future with you. And building something meaningful requires maturity. It requires patience. It requires understanding. All the things you were developing during the waiting season, the same lessons that sometimes felt frustrating, were actually strengthening your ability to sustain real love. Now something important is beginning to shift. You may notice small signs in your life, moments that feel like gentle reminders that a new chapter is beginning. Perhaps your heart feels more hopeful again. Perhaps you feel less afraid of love than you once did. Perhaps you notice that you are no longer interested in the types of relationships that once distracted you. That change in perspective is significant because when your standards grow, your future changes too. God often elevates your expectations right before introducing the right person. Not because He wants you to become demanding, but because He wants you to recognize the value of what you're receiving. You spent too much time accepting less than you deserved in the past. Now your heart has learned the difference between attention and genuine love, between attraction and alignment, between temporary excitement and lasting peace. And because of that growth, the relationship that enters your life next will feel completely different from anything before it. You won't feel anxious. You won't feel uncertain. Instead, you'll feel something many people rarely experience in modern relationships: security. Security doesn't mean perfection. Every relationship still requires effort and understanding. But security means both people are committed to growing together instead of constantly pulling away. It means communication replaces confusion, respect replaces manipulation, support replaces competition. This is the type of love God prepares for those who waited with faith. And when it arrives, something beautiful happens. The loneliness you once felt begins to dissolve, not because another person completes you, but because the right relationship amplifies the peace you already found within yourself. Healthy love adds to your life. It doesn't replace your identity, and that's exactly what God wanted for you. He didn't want you to lose yourself inside a relationship. He wanted you to become whole first. So, when love entered your life, it would enhance who you already are, chosen one. Right now, you may still feel like the waiting season has lasted longer than it should have, but one day soon, you'll look back and realize something remarkable. Every delay protected you from the wrong path. Every closed door saved you from a connection that would have distracted your destiny. Every moment of loneliness quietly redirected your life towards something better. And the person God is bringing into your life will recognize that journey. They will appreciate the strength it took for you to remain faithful. They will value the patience you carried because they have their own story too, their own lessons, their own seasons of waiting. And when those two stories finally intersect, something meaningful begins. Not just a romance, but a partnership, a friendship, a bond rooted in faith and respect. The kind of connection that grows stronger with time instead of fading. And suddenly, the years of waiting will no longer feel like wasted time. They will feel like preparation. Preparation for the moment when everything finally aligns. Preparation for the moment when two lives begin moving forward together. Preparation for the moment when love stops being a distant hope and becomes a present reality. That moment is closer than you think, closer than your doubts may allow you to believe, because heaven has already been arranging the details, the conversations, the meetings, the opportunities. God rarely reveals the entire plan at once. He simply guides each step until the right moment arrives. And when it does, it often feels surprisingly natural, like two paths that were always moving in the same direction have finally crossed. You won't have to force it. You won't have to chase it. You won't have to convince someone to stay, because what God joins together flows with peace. So if your heart has been weary from waiting, Let this message remind you of something important. Your story is still unfolding. The chapter you've been praying for is closer than it appears, and the love you've been asking God about in quiet moments has not been forgotten. In fact, the waiting season may have ended at the exact moment you stopped expecting it, because sometimes, just when a heart learns how to live peacefully on its own, God introduces the person who will walk beside it, not to complete it, but to share the journey. Chosen one, your patience was not wasted, your prayers were not ignored, and your heart was never overlooked. God saw every moment, and He has been preparing something beautiful all along. So stay hopeful, stay open, and most importantly, stay faithful, because the long wait for your true love is closer to ending than you ever imagined.